All right, let's dive into what's been happening in the Faroe Islands. We've got a whole bunch of sources here, kind of covering everything from that crazy storm to, well, some interesting election stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, and a powerlifting competition, too, just to mix things up. And even a little international news with a Faroes connection. So, ready to jump in?
Sounds like we've got a lot to cover.
We do. And I think we should probably start with that storm. Vargar Island, especially Sandavagar, got hit pretty hard.
Oh, wow. How bad is the damage?
Well, so far they're saying a roof got ripped off in Stigerbakuni.
Oh, no.
And there were reports of, like, sheet metal flying around. Obviously, that's super dangerous.
Definitely.
Over 40 reports of damage already, and I'm sure that number's going to go up.
Yikes. So what are the authorities doing about it?
Well, Landsverk, the Public Works Department, they're telling people in Sandavagar to just stay inside. They've even stopped all the road work because it's just too dangerous out there.
Smart move. Safety first.
Absolutely. Now, let's switch gears for a second, talk about those election results. Skuvoy had a bit of a situation.
Oh, what happened?
No ballots.
We watched seriously.
Seriously, no ballots on Election Day.
Wow. That's, not great for a smooth election.
You think?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, over in Strovar Kommune, they've got their new council all set. Hans Anders Jacobsen is the mayor,
Okay.
and Artie Johansson is the deputy mayor.
Congrats to them. Anything else interesting election-wise?
There's some drama brewing within the Javnaðarflokkurin. That's the Social Democratic Party. Not totally sure about the details yet, though.
Internal party stuff always makes things interesting. Okay, what about that powerlifting competition? You mentioned some impressive stuff.
Oh, yeah. It was the annual one in Haven. Get this. 12 participants, 15 Faroes records broken,
Wow.
and 17 personal bests.
That's amazing. Who ended up winning?
So they calculate the winner based on a score that combines their body weight and how much they lift. And the winner is Ragvi Sørensen.
Very cool. Seems like there's always something happening in the Faroe Islands.
Never a dull moment. But hold on, we've got a few more little news bits before we wrap up this part.
Okay, lay it on you.
Sad news first. A Norwegian man was shot and killed in Mexico.
Oh, that's awful.
Closer to home, Siri Stenberg hosted a whole conference about nature restoration.
That's great. Such an important topic for the Faroes.
Definitely. Then there's this worry that the Sandavagar-Mývatn route might not be a priority in Landsverk's transport plan. People aren't too happy about that.
I can understand why transport is so important there.
Last one. A 31-year-old man was arrested and is being held for 4 weeks. They say he tried to murder someone in Skálafjörður. There was a stabbing.
Oh, wow. That's a heavy way to end this part. Seems like we covered quite a range, huh?
We did. From storms and politics to some impressive athletic feats and, well, some not-so-great news, too. It really gives you a snapshot of life in the Faroe Islands.
It does, and I'm ready for more. Wow, we really zipped through a lot there in the first part.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, that's for sure.
So you mentioned some people are worried about that Sandavagar-Mývatn route. It's something about Landsverk's transport plan.
Yeah, it sounds like there's this concern that they might not, prioritize it as much as other projects, which, of course, could make things tricky for getting back and forth between those islands.
Yeah, I can see why people would be concerned, especially with, everything that's happening with the storm and needing to get around and rebuild and all. It makes you think about how important those connections are. Speaking of, how are things looking on Vágar after the storm?
It's got to be tough right now for anyone who got hit by the damage. I mean, thinking about that roof getting torn off and, like, loose metal flying around, that's just scary.
Totally. Hopefully Landsverk can help people get things back in order quickly.
Fingers crossed. Now, switching gears completely, how about those election results? It'll be interesting to see what the new council in Sjovar Kommune does.
Right, with Jacobsen as mayor and Johansson as deputy mayor. What are their plans, do we know?
Well, it's early days yet, so who knows what they'll focus on. And then there's that whole thing with the Social Democratic Party.
Yeah, what's the latest with that internal conflict? Any more info?
Still kind of hush-hush, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But anything going on inside a big party like that, it always has the potential to affect things more broadly, right?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, enough politics for now. Let's talk about something a little more uplifting.
Yeah, let's celebrate Ragvi Sørensen's win. What an incredible achievement in that powerlifting competition.
15 Faroes records. I mean, that's just amazing.
Definitely a testament to all the hard work these athletes put in. Speaking of achievements, that conference Siri Stenberg hosted on nature restoration. That's huge.
It is. I mean, that's got to be one of the most important things for the Faroe Islands, right?
Yeah,
Keeping your environment healthy.
for sure. Did they mention any specific topics that came up at the conference?
I don't think so. But I'm guessing things like climate change, making fishing sustainable, protecting different species, those kind of things had to be front and center.
Yeah, those are the big ones, not just for them, but for like everyone everywhere. It makes you think, even though the Faroe Islands are, kind of out there on their own, they're not immune to all this stuff happening globally.
So true. And that brings us back to that sad news about the Norwegian man in Mexico. Just goes to show things that happen far away can still have a connection to the Faroe Islands.
And then there's that attempted murder case in Skallafjord. I can't imagine what it's like for a small community to deal with something that serious.
Yeah, it must be really tough. It just reminds you that even in a place that seems so peaceful, bad things can still happen.
It really makes you appreciate how important it is for people to come together and support each other when things get rough. It's kind of wild how much news comes out of places small as the Faroe Islands.
Yeah, it really does. You get this sense of what life is like there, the ups, the downs, everything.
Totally. And something that just keeps popping up is this whole balance between, tradition and moving forward.
Right. Holding on to what makes them unique, but also, keeping up with the times. It's a struggle for so many places these days.
Exactly. And it's not just about like the economy or whatever. It's about their culture too, their way of life.
Like with that Sandavagar Mivagar route, it's about more than just roads, right? It's about connections and how they live.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have something like Siri Stenberg's conference. I mean, focusing on nature restoration. That shows they're serious about protecting their environment.
Thinking about the future, making sure things are good for the next generation.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, too, how connected they are to, the rest of the world. You've got this Faroese politician hosting a big conference, and then you've got a Faroese citizen caught up in a tragedy somewhere else.
Yeah, it shows that even though they're, geographically kind of isolated, they're still part of the bigger picture. What happens elsewhere matters there, too.
Definitely. And then you have stories like the powerlifting competition celebrating their own people and their achievements.
Always good to have something positive to rally around, right? Gives people a sense of pride, maybe even inspires them to, go for their own goals.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, we've covered a ton today, from the wild weather to politics and, well, everything in between. It's been quite a journey through the news of the Faroe Islands.
It has, and it leaves you thinking, what's next for them? What will they face? What will they celebrate? And how will they continue to, make their mark on the world?
Such a great question. And that's a wrap for us today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with more from the Faroe Islands.